This is Lions on Tap, a weekly look inside the Lions Den. Highlights, interviews, and a look ahead to what's next for the Leos. Now, here are your hosts, Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski, and Bob the Moj Marjanovic.
This is BC Lions on Tap on AM 730 and the Lions Audio Network. It's the Moj, Bob Marjanovic, along with Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski from the BC Lions social media team. We come to you tonight from the Reach Pub in Maple Ridge, 20398 Dudney Trunk Road. And if you're in the neighborhood, pop on by. Got some great food. We had the roast beef tonight. It was outstanding. Big thank you to Christy, taking care of us here, and the rest of the staff. And, of course, a big thank you to Molson Coors for their presenting sponsorship of BC Lions on Tap. Well, fellas, we have a very special guest tonight, Matthew and Nicholas.
We had to pull out all the stops to get this guy today.
Limo, had to bring him out here.
Champagne.
The one and only Giulio Caravatta.
What a privilege this is for me. Thanks for having me, guys.
It was either you or Farhan, and we picked you instead. Just saying.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. That's where I am in the barrel, am I?
Made that decision snap quick.
Oh, yeah. It was an easy decision to make. I'm just saying it was great to finally get you out here. So,
nice.
Because
nice
we know
here.
that, it's a tough day for you, seeing how your beloved Blue Jays lost 3-1 to the Minnesota Twins. So.
Yeah, I know. That's the game one. So, but I don't know about you. I know you, how much you love baseball, but for this time of the year, it's the only time I'll ever watch a full game. Playoff baseball is something else. Yeah.
And for people that don't know, Giulio Caravatta at one point was a groundskeeper for the Blue Jays at CNE Stadium.
Yeah, 1982 to 1985.
Yeah.
So 3 seasons. Yeah.
And
lots of fun.
No truth to the rumor that you actually picked up the dead seagull.
No, I did. That's very true.
Dave Winfield.
Jason Pinchuk was the ball boy in right field. He's the one who put the Gatorade towel over the seagull, and he carried it down. I'm the one who took it from him and then put it in the garbage.
For people that don't know what happened, Dave Winfield was with the Yankees.
Yes.
He's warming up. He hits a seagull while warming up. I think he actually got... On purpose. He actually got charged.
Oh, yeah. Somebody in the stands called the police.
Yeah, so he got charged with whatever. I mean, he was found not guilty. Make a long story short.
Cruelty to animals.
Yeah, so make a long story short, you guys had to take
the funniest part of the story was the after the game, Winfield was doing a radio hit, and he was in the dugout. That's where the radio part was. So he went down there, put the headset on, and was talking to the guys. Billy Martin came out of the clubhouse and was like, his pants were half down, and he was wearing his warm-up shirt. He's screaming at us, "Where the hell is Winfield?" And we were just looking at him going, I don't even know if I want to answer. And then all I did was point. I pointed, and he goes, "He's right there." He couldn't see him in behind. There was a barrier. Oh. So then he went over to him, and he started yelling at Winfield while he was on the radio, telling him that the police were here to arrest him for killing that goddamn bird.
All right, Giulio Caravatta talking old Blue Jay stories for 1,000.
Sorry.
No, it's a good story, though. That's one thing you do, is you're a good storyteller.
Thank you.
So you're going to tell us a few more stories tonight. But first off, let's get into it. BC Lions knock off the Saskatchewan Roughriders, a game in which I believe the score flattered the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but nonetheless, it's a win. Just your thoughts on that victory against the Riders.
You mean outside of, I think when the Lions started, they were up there in the fourth quarter, they kind of took their foot off the gas as far as defense, and they allowed them to kind of score a few points there at the end. But overall, I thought it was, a very, very good performance. I thought, again, defensively, they did a great job, really limiting them. And like I said, it seems to me that that defense is now starting to really show us what they kind of were doing for a big portion of the season, and at the very, very best time of the year, they really kind of seem to be rolling into form again. And offensively, what can you say about Vernon and what he's been able to do? I really, really think that his season has been a little bit flying under the radar. I think people talk about other quarterbacks, but I've been super, super impressed with his year. I just think he's just been outstanding.
Speaking of the offense, start of the year, some of those prognosticators, Brian Burnham, they have to overcome that loss. And, we love Bernie, okay? Don't get me wrong. But I was hearing a lot of that. I'm thinking, okay, but we also had 3 1,000-yard receivers last year in Rhymes, Hatcher, and Whitehead. You see Hatch go for 172. Hollins and him are both over 1,000. How impressive is it that these guys have sort of stepped in and been game breakers for this club.
I mean, I think that's an excellent point. I think like someone like Alexander Hollins, I think it really kind of typifies that. I don't think any of those other guys we were surprised about, really. We thought Hatcher was going to make a very easy transition into Burnham's spot. D. Rhymes is D. Rhymes, and Lucky is Lucky, right? So, but I think it's been proven that one of the things you're going to eventually have in the CFL during the course of a long year, you're going to have injuries. You hope they're not serious injuries, but you're going to have some nicks and some bangs here and there, and you need the guys to step up and fill a role. And what can you say about Alexander Hollins? What can you say about Justin McInnes? What can you say about Javon Catoy, right? All those guys have really, really stepped in at different parts and really played critical roles. So that's what you need. And they have been outstanding at that position all year long. Every single person has stepped up when needed and come up with big catches. And it's been a lot of fun to watch.
The forgotten man in this equation might be Jordan Maximic too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because last season everyone's saying, they lost Rourke, they're not going to be able to put up the same production. I was crunching numbers over the weekend. Vernon's averaging 5 fewer yards per game than Nathan did last season.
Yeah.
It's that close. So how much does that contribute to Maximic?
I mean, I'm a huge Jordan Maximic fan. I'm super, super impressed with the way that he prepares. I love his innovation as far as using formations and using different people in different spots, right? Like, there's only so many ways that you can run a corner route. There's only so many ways you can run an out or a curl or any of those routes that everybody's running. It's about being able to move people around and utilize those guys so that the defense can't key on one person. And it always happens pretty much game in and game out. You look at how many people are touching the ball offensively, receiver-wise, and it's always 6, 7, 8 guys that are all touching it, which tells you that all these guys are being put in a position. And most importantly, you have someone like Vernon who understands what he's looking at, and he's distributing the ball to who's open depending on what the defense is giving them. And that's always a huge, huge sign for me, because you're not picking one or two guys because you have a Hatcher, you have a Rhymes, and you're going to force the ball into those guys. You're reading the defense and distributing the ball the way it's supposed to.
I'm going to swing back to the offensive coordinator, Jordan Maximic, and there was an interesting quote. Bakes, I think you might remember this from practice last week, where Vernon Adams was talking about the coaching and the level of coaching that he's got from Jordan Maximic, and he talked about that he's never really had that level of coaching or detail or attention to detail like he has had here in BC. It seems like it's just a great fit between Jordan Maximic and Vernon Adams Jr.
And didn't we talked about that a few weeks ago with Vernon, about the idea that he's been around the league, but this is kind of the most success that he's had. Yeah. And sometimes it's all about, one, as a quarterback, everything starts to fit. Right? Everything just kind of, you get to a certain point in your career where you're just comfortable. You go out there, you know what's happening, you know everything that's, you're pretty much prepared for everything. And the game really slows down. But it also has a lot to do with how comfortable you are with your offensive coordinator and your coaches, the players, the chemistry, all of the stuff that's off the field. Now, Vernon, I think this might be the first time. Like, his family is originally from Tacoma, right? And so all those friends and family are all close by. So all that tied in together, I think it leads to. But it speaks to your point about Jordan. I think he is quietly goes about his business, but you know what? He is so smart about the way he calls a game, and I'm just super impressed with him.
Guys, are we getting tired of this narrative surrounding Vernon Adams Jr.? I know I am, and I'm going to throw it out to you guys, but it's just like, he throws an interception. Oh, Vernon being Vernon.
Yeah, I mean, that drives me nuts.
And it's like, Zach Collaros goes out there and makes some hideous throws and 3 picks, and nobody says anything. Yeah. Vernon does it. Oh, it's Vernon being Vernon. I mean, give the guy credit.
Yeah,
I think interceptions are going to happen at that position.
There's definitely a very, very small minority vocal faction out there that just harps on the interceptions. Yeah,
I think you're right. There's a couple of guys in the national level that do that, very, very well. But again, I'm with you. I totally agree that I don't think Vernon gets enough credit for the kind of year that he's having. He's just been brilliant. Some of those throws that he made, like in over linebackers in between, it's just been. People don't realize how difficult that is. And when you talk about split seconds and making that decision and making that throw, not everybody can do it.
Quickly, I got to make a compilation of these because I know exactly what you're talking about from field level.
Yes. They're pretty impressive, aren't they?
All right, we will take a quick break. On the other side, much more with Lions color analyst Giulio Caravatta. Again, we're coming to you from the Reach Pub in Maple Ridge, 20398 Dewdney Trunk Road. If you're in the neighborhood, pop on by. We will talk to Giulio about the upcoming game against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, plus Nick Kowalski's world-famous BC Lions trivia. People are waiting for this all the way from Maple Ridge to Moscow. You're listening to BC Lions on Tap on AM 730 in the Lions Audio Network.
Now, back to Lions on Tap. Here again is Bob Marjanovic.
This is BC Lions on Tap, coming to you from the Reach Pub in Maple Ridge. And, of course, a big shout-out to the staff here at 20398 Dudney Trunk Road. It's in the big plaza here with the Save On, if you're familiar with it. That's where we're at, the Reach Pub in Maple Ridge. And a big shout-out to the folks at Molson Coors for sponsoring this show. And, of course, big shout-out to all the staff here, including our server, Christy, taking care of us tonight. It's the Moj, Bob Marjanovic, along with Matt Baker and Nick Kowalski from the Lions social media team, and the one and only Giulio Caravatta, color analyst for the BC Lions. All right, fellas, we talked about a little bit about last week. We talked about Vernon Adams. Let's get into the big.
Oh, it's big.
The big item.
It's big.
The big item that's just sitting there.
Yeah.
Big matchup against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
This is what you love.
Friday night.
You're looking forward to it. I know. I'm
game
busted.
of the year. Yeah.
It is really. I mean, this is what it's all about. Really, this is what you get into this time of the year. This is the kind of games that you hope to be playing, and we have it right in front of us. You can't ask for much more than this matchup. I think everybody across the Canadian Football League is going to be eyes on this one, because there's not only are they two of the premier teams, but there's obviously so much at stake as far as hosting your home playoff game or hosting the Western Final. Excuse me.
Clearly, this Lions team, 50-14 last time, not indicative of what either team is all about, right? Winnipeg hasn't played a complete game like that since. And you could say the same week 3, 30-6, was Winnipeg as bad that night? I mean, what is one key area you're looking at in this game? I have a feeling you're going to talk about up front.
Yeah, it's always about the line. I mean, that's always a given. I think you ask anybody when they talk about football, you have to be able to control the line of scrimmage. It's plain and simple. If you can't do that, then you're not going to have success on either side of the ball. So if I'm looking at another big factor, I'm looking at the possible mistakes and against good football teams. You can't make them. You can't lose
turnover battle.
You can't lose the turnover.
Right?
You can't lose the turnover battle, and you can't take penalties that put you in negative situations. Right? Like what you cannot do against a team like Winnipeg. That if you're getting a return out to the 40, and all of a sudden you're taking a holding penalty, and that's going half the distance back to the goal line, and you're starting on your 15. You can't do that. Right? The field position is so valuable, and you just can't play in the negative. You can't take negative plays where you're now, you're second and 15 or second and 20 or, you're first and 20 and all those kinds of things. You got to stay away from those kinds of mistakes, because against great teams, and they are a very good team, they're going to make you pay for it.
Well, fellas, one thing I think that was a positive out of that game against Saskatchewan was the turnover ratio.
Yeah.
BC was finally on the winning side of the turnover battle. They were, 8 games this year they've lost the turnover battle, and usually when you lose that turnover battle, you win 25% of your games.
Maybe.
The Lions were at
500.
50, 4-4.
Yeah, 4-4.
Right? So
I mean,
that's pretty amazing. And the fact that they finally won the turnover battle against Saskatchewan, to me, and I'm with you, to me, fellas, it's about limiting the penalties, limiting the explosive plays, and of course winning that turnover battle.
Here we know when we sit here and we talk about it, the same. I mean, they're a good football team. The Lions are a good football team. What you can't do is put yourself behind the 8 ball in any situation, whether it's special teams, defense, offense. So limiting the big plays for our defense, making a big play on offense, right? All those things are the keys when you talk about a football game. So, I continue to say it, but for me, it's the mistakes. You got to stay away from mistakes that put you into negative situations.
Well, what I love about this matchup, too, is it kind of forces these position groups to walk the walk, right? Winnipeg says they have the best receivers. We say we have the best quarterback, defense, so on, right? But in this game, where do you think BC has the strongest positional advantage, and then where do you think Winnipeg has the strongest advantage?
Wow, I honestly, I don't know if either team has that big a difference in any position. I think that's how equal these two teams are. I think the one factor, and I think we saw a very good example of it, is when you go out and win the way the Lions won in Winnipeg, the way that Winnipeg responded, because what happened? They felt that they were embarrassed at home, right? So when you have a team, an athlete that is embarrassed or feels that they've been slighted or embarrassed or made to look bad, you're going to get a little bit extra out of somebody. And I would imagine that the Lions secondary, they gave up a lot of big plays that game. You know that they were embarrassed. You know you're going to have a lot of guys that are going to use that as fuel. So you know the intensity, I think, on the Lions side is going to be there after what happened the last game.
I like the Lions receivers versus the Winnipeg DBs. I like that matchup. I think that there's some weaknesses in the Winnipeg secondary, even though they have a great player like Demario Houston. I think there's a couple of links there you can exploit. I don't think Winnipeg can do the same against BC secondary, although they have a great set of receivers. And I'll tell you one thing, that you got to give props to Winnipeg for an outstanding running game.
Oh, yeah, no, their running game is a big part of what they do. And if you allow that part of their game to be successful, then everything else feeds off of it, right?
And one thing I think that's hurt Winnipeg, their special teams without Janarian Grant are not at the same level.
Yeah.
Right.
He was practicing today.
Well, if he's back, that's a big boost for Winnipeg.
Yes.
And no Houston.
Is he expected back, Grant, this week?
All we know is he was a full participant.
Oh, he's a full participant. Okay, so that's...
Signs trending, but Nick mentioned Demario Houston, solid defensive back, was not practicing. So that's a situation. Moj mentions the receivers against their back end. That's something worth watching.
And for people that don't know, good news for the Lions this week in the sense that all the players that missed the game last week against Saskatchewan will be back in the lineup. David Mackey with that knee is back in. Suk Chung's ankle, he's fine. He's back in at guard. Dane Evans with the back spasms is back at quarterback. And Jalen Edwards-Cooper is back after suffering from a game day illness. So he'll be all right. So the Lions, all hands on deck for this game against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. All right, we'll take a quick break. On the other side, Matt Baker will tell us what's going on in terms of special promotions and how to get some tickets for this game against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We might even have another announcement to make. I'm hearing some things. We're going to find out.
What do you hear? What do you hear?
What do you hear? We will also get to Nick Kowalski's world-famous BC Lions trivia, which will feature our guest tonight, apparently, one Giulio Caravatta. You're listening to BC Lions on Tap on AM 730 and the Lions Audio Network.
Now, back to Lions on Tap. Here again is Bob Marjanovic.
This is BC Lions on Tap on AM 730, the Lions Audio Network. It's the Moj, Bob Marjanovic, along with Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski from the Lions social media team. Our special guest tonight, Lions color analyst Giulio Caravatta. We are coming to you from the Reach Pub in Maple Ridge, 20398 Dudney Trunk Road. Great pub here. I love the atmosphere. And all of the local celebrities are here. Big Phil Stanier from West Coast Toyota, their second leading salesman behind Laurie Sean.
That's what the limo's doing outside.
Yeah, that's Stanier's.
Yeah.
Big shout out as well to the folks at Molson Coors for taking care of us as always, and a big shout out to Christy, our waitress here tonight at the Reach Pub in Maple Ridge. All right, before we get to Kowalski's world famous trivia, Matt Baker, Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I'm hearing rumblings. I'm hearing that there's a possibility. Ticket sales are
pretty steady now.
Pretty steady
going
right now,
fast. Yeah,
that there's a possibility if these tickets keep going at the current rate that we're going to open up the upper bowl. I'm hearing some rumblings there.
Just what we're hearing.
Rumblings?
What we're hearing. Yeah,
what we're hearing.
What the insiders are reporting is that
people I'm talking to.
It's a high. You said high probability. It could be trending in that direction. So all the more reason to go out and get your tickets now, because you never know. But yes. Maybe some developments on that tomorrow. You never know. The Gravy Bowl presented by Save On Foods. Backyard Party, 4 o'clock. It's a presentation of Play Now Sports. Thanksgiving-themed menu, Moj. I might head up and get some Brussels sprouts or a turkey wrap, something like that. Molson Coors products. I don't think there's going to be Brussels sprouts, so don't hate me for it if you're so... But turkey wraps, yes, and maybe some other stuffing and gravy. I think Dwayne Vanu, our president, is going to be carving turkey with Wade Miller. Rumor, that's what we're hearing.
There is a joke there, but I'm going to stay away from it. That is just like teed up softball, like 450 yards.
Alley-oop, yes.
That's just, no, I'm leaving that one alone.
Tickets, speaking of tickets, Moj, adults start at $25. Kids get in for $10. How good is that?
How good is that?
Yeah.
All right.
PCLions.com/The Gravy Bowl.
Are you ready for Kowalski's world famous trivia?
Well, I mean, it's
the only reason you came on the show tonight.
Well, actually, it's a little embarrassing, right?
Because it's what you?
Yeah, well, these numbers aren't
pressure's
they're not
on
staggering.
Here,
Right.
There's some good numbers here. There's a variety of numbers.
Good. Did you make me look half decent?
I would say so. I picked up some good.
Thank you, buddy.
Who's the favorite here, though? Is it you yourself or is it Moj?
It might be Moj because
Moj is on
I don't
a winning
remember what
streak.
happened yesterday. Jeez, I forgot about when the practice was last week or when the game was. So
all right, let's get this started. We'll go off the easy one to start. So we're doing Prices Right style, so you guys have to write a number down. I'll talk them on the radio here. Number of CFL seasons played for Giulio.
Well,
we got some numbers. Giulio has written the number 8. Moj has 9. Baker has 11. The correct answer is 8. So Giulio gets a point. How about
He should know that.
Yeah.
how about total points scored in his CFL career?
What do you mean, like as touchdowns, field goals, singles, all
Everything.
that stuff?
He has a variety of stuff.
Well, I just did the stats on him, so I think he probably had like about.
is it? You mean it's not a big number?
So a touchdown
Can't be.
6, a Rouge is 1.
Yeah. So I'm going to say maybe
Baker's written 68.
No way.
Moj has got
way.
61.
I'm going to say 33.
Well, you start talking singles too.
No.
How many times you get a single?
Go ahead.
Giulio, you win again. It's 38 is the correct answer.
Oh,
what'd you say?
He was
I
looking
said
at a stat.
33.
He was looking at a stats crew in the commercial break.
Well, no, I know they're not
This
that
is
many. I know
So
there's not
Giulio, so we both went high. Didn't
Yeah.
we?
both went high.
way high.
Here's
Way
a-
too high. We're giving him too much credit.
Hey,
Yeah.
way too much credit.
How about this? The guy who's the trivia it's about, he's winning. Shocker.
This is rigged. Come
What's
on.
next? His birthday?
Wedding anniversary.
Credit card number? No, I'm not good. Punting yards. Let's go punting yards. How many punting yards did Giulio have in his CFL career?
In his career?
Yeah.
Oh God.
He probably punted 6 years.
No, I didn't. Hey, remember,
How many years did you punt?
I punted. I was a punter, but I also punted behind the greatest punter who ever played
How
the
many
game.
years
You were
you punt?
mostly a
4?
kickoff
Yeah,
guy,
well, no,
right?
I kicked off, but
Okay, 4 years punting, 60, 240 times 40.
There's some yards
I'm going
there.
to say 1,480.
What do you got, Baker? So we got 1,480. Baker's going
Punts?
798 punting yards. Wow. Giulio, what do you got?
I'm going to say 1,200.
You guys are way undershooting him here. It's 4,325.
What?
So that is a point
I got a
for
point.
Moj.
I'm in the
Okay.
hunt. I'm in
All
the
right.
hunt.
Punting yards. Really?
Yeah,
gotta get on the-
4,000.
Wow.
See, I chose some positive
you.
ones.
I
Yeah.
got to get on the board here.
How about passing attempts in your CFL career?
Passing attempts. Ooh. You were.
I'd say maybe I'm going to go 100.
151.
151, 100 for Giulio. What has Baker got? Baker's written down 131. You guys are all pretty close, but Giulio wins by not going over. The answer is 111. So very close. Here's a fun one, too. I think Giulio wins. We'll just wrap it up with one more. Field goals made. How many field goals did you make? You should probably know this, right?
I'm just trying to think in a game.
In your career.
Yeah, I think it's
6.
Moj has gone over.
I've gone over?
Moj has gone over.
Oh, you can't do that. They haven't done theirs yet.
You guys all went over. So we got Baker with 4. Giulio wrote 3. The answer is 2. You had 2 field goals. Am I wrong?
Las Vegas.
Stats crew says you have 2 field goals.
No, I think I have 3. I'm pretty sure
we
it's
got
3.
check
Okay,
the
let's
tape.
let's get Steve Daniel on the phone right
Check
now.
the
No.
tape.
Oh, my. We're debating.
Louis got hurt.
We're
Okay,
debating.
Louis got
So
hurt.
if it's 3, Baker's on the board, or Giulio got that.
Louis got hurt in Las Vegas, and I went in and I had to. So the first thing I did, I had to kick an extra point, and the ball came. It was a bad snap. The ball was off the tee. Darren Flutie was holding for me. I hit the upright on the extra point. I was like, oh my God, this is not going to be good.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
Wow.
So I came out in the second half. And I remember I hit a 25-yarder early chip. Like I remember kicking it, and then I had my head buried, thinking I didn't want to look up because if I missed this one, so I made that one, and then I thought there was another one. Then I made a 51 or 50-yard field goal.
Was that with the Lions then, too?
Yeah, I was with the Lions. Yeah.
Oh, man, we could go another
All
half
right.
hour easy. So, we could even talk
Is that
about,
it?
Yeah, that's it. I know,
You
it goes by
win.
so fast.
Giulio passed his own test.
I
Good
know,
for him.
shocker.
I wanted to talk about my first touchdown, how I got it.
No, we don't have time.
I know. Sorry. Next
Do
time.
that on the pregame show.
Sure.
That's a wrap for us tonight from the Reach Pub in Maple Ridge. Again, a big thank you to the staff here, and a big thank you to our sponsors, Molson Coors Canada. And, of course, our operator tonight. We're heading over. Big party, big sleepover, perhaps. Trevor Martin's looking forward to that.
Bring the
Maple
hot
Ridge.
chocolate.
I'm sure he's really
it's
looking
gonna be,
forward
I
to
can't
it.
wait. It's going to be an awesome time. Kowalski's bought sleeping bags. Baker's got the Baileys for breakfast. It's going to be good. All right, that's a wrap. Again, reminder to join us on Friday, 6 o'clock for the Resurrection Spirits pregame show. Lions and Bombers, 7 o'clock on AM 730 in the Lions Radio Network. You know what I'm going to tell you before we get out of here? Do what you got to do. Light it up, rip it up. Just do us a favor. Be safe.